I love these microphones.
I know. أنا كتير هيك when I do the voiceovers it's so relaxing because بحط الميكروفون I can only listen to my voice.
Yes.
And I'm doing the voiceover for the tutorials. So I'm watching and I'm just narrating it. But it's always best to do it when I film, right after. عشان otherwise it's like I'm going back to an old video and it feels strange.
بتصير بدك ترجع تحضره مرة تانية.
It's like you have to remember and what did I do? Whereas if you shoot it and film it right after, it's like a bit more organic. But same.
But your recording is good. You're doing it yourself, which is amazing.
Yeah. I just sit in front of my iMac, and I get the is it the Sennheiser?
Sennheiser,
the mic?
Yes.
No, sorry. I use the M. What device نفسه? Or I have no idea. I'm very bad with equipment. The one you plug everything into.
What's this called? Taj?
The handheld one.
Huh? Zoom? Is it the Zoom? The
is
recorder.
It the Zoom? اللي بتمسكه هيك and you plug everything into the
Rode.
it's
a Zoom.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Or a Rod. يعني في Rod.
Zoom.
Yeah, it's the Zoom.
It's the same thing.
And Sennheiser is a very good mic. I have this Shure M767.
I got the Sennheiser for my intros. And I really like it, but my space keeps moving around. So when it's close, it's echoey.
Yes, the sound is like it's major by itself.
I know. You have like sound people, and you have it's like another technical.
بدك mixer, بدك كمان يعني to filter وهيك عرفت كيف to get it right.
Exactly.
أنا أكتر visual.
I know, me too. And at least I went to art school. I know, and I did film photography. And with painting, how you get to know, obviously, the idea of colors and everything, but I've never learned about sound.
Yes.
Like sound engineering, which is something completely different.
أنا مش it's not my interest.
بمشي, yeah.
No. But it sounds so good. But you went to art school. I heard that you've been taking pictures of girls and drawing them.
This is how it started. There are many different starts and beginnings. I was kind of like born with a brush. I was drawing since I was a child. And my dad recognized that at a very early time. And he really was like my main support, and he pushed me to do it. But it wasn't like a forced thing because I always drew regardless. But it was really nice to have the support of your parents.
Of course.
And then as I started to get into art classes in school, that's when things got a bit more apparent that, okay, that art is what I want to do. And I think at 13, not even younger, maybe 11, I was like, okay, I want to work for Marvel. I want to ink the comics because my main thing was ink. When I became like fully aware of what I like and what I don't in art, well, I use like I love the cheapest pens, the ballpoint. كون حقه هيك درهم أقل أصلاً. And I feel like you could really do shading with that. And that was my main passion. And I think because I got into inking, it's a very hard medium عشان you can't go back. It's permanent ink. I mean, you can't erase a part. So every move had to be مش calculated, but you had to draw with confidence. Especially if you're shading, you have to know shade and light and all these things, which I feel came very naturally to me, and I loved it. It wasn't until, and everyone would tell me, "Oh, you should paint. I'm like, no, I'll never be a painter."
Okay, yeah.
Actually, to me, painting was very. I saw it in my head as a pretentious thing. Like I don't want to be the person that would, paint and have a gallery and then like sell the painting for like millions. And I mean, not that was gonna happen in my head, but this is what you hear of painters, and when you're young, and it was never like about the money. It was about like and I'm very stubborn.
Okay.
So the more people would tell me you should paint, the more I said no.
Okay.
I actually started to paint so I went to art school in San Francisco in 2008, which I don't think a lot of people know. And I spent a semester there and I came back. And that's when I started painting. And I think I like to see it as I try something new every time a major shift happens in my life. It can be a dramatic shift, like a dramatic change in my life, or it could be maybe a bit more positive. But that's what inspires change, because I'm like, okay, so what's next? And that's when I started painting, and I really fell in love with it. I quickly went into applying for my first art award, sorry. And I won a painting award in 2010.
With Sheikha
Manal, Young Artist Award.
Yeah. Okay.
So I won that.
That was in the university, صح?
I wasn't even in university yet.
Okay.
But I took a gap year.
Okay.
Well, more like 3 years.
Okay.
And in these 3 years, all I did was paint. And I was painting, I was doing commissions, I was doing exhibitions. And I was just doing it for the love of it. I was applying to, there were a lot of art, I don't even know what they call them anymore. Like an art brief.
Gallery, a brief?
Yeah, through the gallery. So the gallery would say, okay, this month we have an upcoming exhibition. You have X amount of time to have your art piece ready. And the theme is change, for example.
Okay.
And you apply, you submit your piece, whether it was painting, photography. I think most of it was very general, sculpture. If your piece gets accepted, you are exhibiting in that show. So I did, throughout my time, I did like 25 shows, which is crazy. And I was in university at the time, and I was still doing a lot of shows. But of course, I was doing a lot of projects. And I got to learn a lot because I love art and all its like mediums. I really enjoyed film photography and being in the dark room. I think that was surprisingly my favorite part. I think it was the darkness, and you have to be alone, and
red light.
nobody liked being there.
Yeah.
And people would get scared to be there after hours, because you have to lock yourself in a dark room, and you have to open the film. And I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. It's very meditation.
Yeah. It was very relaxing for me.
Very relaxing. It's you're drawing with your hands.
Yeah.
I know. You know, when you project the light into the paper, and you can have more exposure on the photo. Because you can do really painting.
This was one of the things that I would still love to continue doing it now, but just for the process. Like, I don't care what photos I take. Like, I could just go around. I mean, it would be really nice to do it when you're on vacation, to carry a film camera with you and take photos and then develop them.
Yeah.
You know, when you're back home. So maybe I will do that.
Have you tried printing them? You were like doing the whole process,
everything.
film and printing.
Everything, like the acid wash. And we've experimented with, older techniques and how to color a photo
Fixer
as well.
And developer and the temperature.
I know. I forgot a lot of the process, but I remember it in my head. But I mean, there are places you can go to.
This is how I started exactly.
Really?
So we had come in like a group club in school, and they said, okay, let's make a photography club. So each group created something, and then
was it high school?
It was high school, yeah. And so we asked the school to take a bathroom and close it and make it a dark room. And we thought that we need to paint all the walls black. So we were like, I don't think you need to paint everything black, but we were like, okay, we needed deep dark black. And
I remember the dark room was black, the walls. I think so.
I know, but we were enjoying the fact that we are painting all the wood, all the cabinets, everything. It was a kitchen, I guess. We painted everything, and the principal, he was like, what are you doing? No, this is very technical.
I mean, it's nice that they let you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we've been developing films, so we don't have the knowledge. And back then there was not, much to research about or internet and this. It was way back. We were developing the films on red light. In the dark room, only paper you can see paper in red light.
Yes, you have to go to a separate black. The
film
black.
has to be pitch black.
That's a part. Yeah, pitch black. That's the one I liked. It was and you had to practice outside. You had to practice the motion of opening the film and putting it in the
roll.
Canister or whatever.
You need to put it in the roll.
Yes, so you had to practice outside so that when you go in, you really can't see anything.
Yes.
And it's frustrated me because you could stay there for 15 minutes, maybe like
more. You can stay longer if you're printing.
15, half. No. But in that small dark room.
Yeah.
I mean, in our university, it was very like a cubicle. And if you didn't nail the process, you'll get frustrated. So you have to like step out and take a break and go back in. But I mean, these are things I think we know. We really enjoy.
I think we know, but also the new generation is like going back to this.
I think so.
Film feeling, even if it's digital. They like the film, and most of the color grading that we see in the films, movies, I mean, and in the photos are based on the film process and the color. Hindash, I like to tell you to say Hindash. I don't know. People are your name Muhammad.
Yeah,
but you're famous Hindash.
Yeah, so.
I like the name Hindash.
Yeah, ever since I was in school, I mean, since kindergarten, imagine, we'd have like 6 Muhammads in a class. So they would all automatically be called by their last name.
Yes.
So I was always called Hindash, like in school. And I mean, even at home, I had a nickname, so nobody calls me Muhammad. I mean, obviously, I know it's my name. And I think I've kind of like rejected it for a while, but now I'm like, it's just my name.
Yes.
Because it's weird when you're introducing yourself to people and you know that Hindash isn't really your name, but this is what it's become. But I got an M tattooed to kind of like celebrate that.
Of course.
I'm like,
yeah, my name is Muhammad.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's a branding. It's your brand name.
Yeah. It became a brand name. It's a family name, which is also really cool. And it sounds like I mean, we don't know the meaning of it. I think it's like a Turkish origin.
Oh, okay.
But apparently the name Hindash is also derived as a nickname for Muhammad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I heard. Cool. Yeah. So it's kind of like the same thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Going back to the childhood, you mentioned something I was aware. I wanna say like this self-awareness.
Yeah.
When you know what you want, this is something that people sometimes, it doesn't come in an early stage where I know what I want. I mean, for me, it took me a lot of time. I was like trying, I knew I wanted something different than just studying medicine or I needed something artistic. But when did you feel like exactly this is who I am?
It's such an interesting topic because I feel like I have always known that this is what I wanted to do, but I mean, obviously what I do now really shifted from what the plan or what I thought the plan was. And yes, I always knew that I wanted to do art and to create, and I was always drawn to beauty. I remember every time my mom, I'd be out with my mom, I would just stop at the supermarket and stop at the makeup aisle and just like look at it because I think they had a lot of faces and I was drawn more to faces than the makeup. And when I started drawing, actually, I was going through all the magazines and I would mainly draw the models from like the perfume ads and the makeup ads because, and this is something I wrote about in my thesis in university. And I started to think, why was I drawn to that or attracted to that? Because it was a parallel of that and comic books like X-Men. X-Men is like a big part of an inspiration of what I do, which is very different. So I started to think, and I'm like, well, these images are extremely heavily edited and retouched. I mean, I didn't know that back then, but they looked perfect, and they looked like beautiful paintings to me, and they looked like comic book characters because also the proportions were not very real. But I never saw it as like a negative thing. I saw it as art. And I appreciate the art of like, maybe because I know that this is art, whereas some other people, the negative side of it was, well, why can't I look like that? Or why don't I look like that? But I never saw it in that sense because I was approaching it through a completely different side. But in terms of knowing what I wanted to do, I just always knew that art was what I wanted to do. And I always saw myself doing that and just doing whatever felt creatively right. I think the only time I was kind of stuck and didn't know what was happening, and it was kind of a shock to me because it was the first time that something felt like it was out of my control, was when I graduated, and I didn't see myself sitting and working in a gallery. And this is kind of what the plan was in my head.
At that time, you were not shifting towards makeup.
I was. So at that time, I had already, but it was more experimental. I was already taking photos of girls in university, and through that doing their makeup and then painting them. And so that part was happening on the side. And I really loved it and I enjoyed it. And I felt like it was kind of like something morphing into something else that I didn't know where it could lead. But it was also very scary for me because, I mean, everyone around me kept telling me that I am an artist and that they see me doing what I do. And I was in denial doing makeup. And I rejected the idea. And I was like, no, this can't be. Like, I studied art history for 4 years, and I have been exhibiting, and I've been doing all these like really old school techniques, that master painters have been doing, and I love them, and this is my life. But I didn't see myself being in a gallery. And I wanted to be a professor, and I wanted to do my master's, but I graduated later because I took gap years to focus on painting. So I graduated at like 26, which wasn't like 25. And to me, I didn't want to waste like more time. It just, and it didn't feel right. I was like, that's it. Because for me, I never liked education, but high school. I loved university.
Okay.
And I loved that experience, and I wanted to leave it there. I had an amazing time, and I don't want anything to shift my experience towards that. And I met amazing people. I really had an amazing time, which I needed because I kind of had a phobia from education and like the system and all of that. Because again, growing up as an artist, like I don't think it's fair to judge someone based on their math skills, and then because you can't predict what they're going to do in life. So I left it there, and at the time I was getting a lot of emails to do makeup because I was posting on Instagram.
That's before. I don't want to jump to makeup.
Let's go back.
And you've shifted your art towards makeup, and you created an identity. I remember the early stages when I saw your work. You started with these lines, these beautiful lines.
Yeah.
You were drawing eyes a lot. I don't know before. I mean, you said you were taking pictures of girls and drawing them, maybe projecting.
This wasn't even before. This was around the same time, honestly.
Yeah.
So before it was a lot of these lines and ink and line work, but it was more of character development and copying. I would say it was copying. So it was like I like seeing what I'm seeing in this magazine. Like I would draw Kate Moss, for example, and I would draw celebrities. And
I think perfect it.
Yeah, and I think that helped me like perfect the proportions, and it was my challenge. Yes. So I had like so many drawings of celebrities, which I would never like do now because it's weird. But as a skill, it's a perfect way to, challenge yourself with proportion and with likeness.
الحلو انه it shows Hindash, and you kept that identity with the lines and the proportions. It shows, and I think you're very anal about it.
Yes,
it's just like if it's shifting, it's shifting 1 millimeter, you're like no.
It's very hard for me to let go of control, but at the same time I can get quite lazy. So I have to. For me, it's about if I'm not feeling it, it's not gonna happen. Which
man,
can be good, can be bad.
That's great. But I mean, self-awareness. I believe. I think because I saw that and I appreciate that. I saw the moment like I want to say this. Like we were doing filming, and then we reached to a point. You said, Hikmat, you know what? I'm done. You know,
was that when we were shooting the tutorials?
Yes. We've done like we're supposed to do 4 or 5, and then we've done 3, and she's like, I don't feel it anymore. I'm done. It takes courage to do this because you know it's just like we always sometimes less is more, and sometimes it's just I don't want to give something I'm not so happy with. And just do it as it is, but perfect it.
And so many times, like I'd have a model over, and we'd start with the main tutorial, and then I'm like, oh no, I can do like this cool eye video, and then I can do one more, and then that last video, for example, ends up not being used because it was forced and it was a bit rushed. The model's a bit tired. I'm very tired. I've been like standing the whole day. So I'm like, you know, sometimes you just have to know that where quality lies, and that's it. I mean, there's always another.
That's amazing. But تعرف شو أنت you don't know how much this needs self-awareness, strength, and relaxing. Because I need to know the background of this. I'm sure, I'm sure your family have a great support and a great encouragement towards that because.
I've kind of always been on my own, actually. Like, obviously, I've had the support of my family. Like, no one has come to me and said, like, oh, what are you doing? But I've always been very isolated and in my own bubble.
In your dark room.
In my dark room. And I've never really lived in the house. I've always lived, like, outside the house, which is weird. So, and I was always daydreaming. Like my mind would always like go somewhere, and it still always does. And apparently later on in life, I learned that was like a form of like manifesting what you want. But in my head, I'm like, I don't know what that means. I always saw my life going to where it is now. And when I look at my life now, I don't look at my life now. I look at how I see it later on, which is, I think, very psychotic. And I think it needs another session for me and you. But like, when I think of myself now, I think of my future self. And I think that's good because bad, because I'm also not very aware of dealing with the success of things or like enjoying the moment. Like when we wrap an amazing shoot, when a product comes out, I feel like I'm not really there. I'm aware of what's happening. But I don't want to think about it a lot. I'm like, okay, so what's next? And what's the next step? And this is great, but I have to already be working on something else.
بس يمكن هيدي this is good because you're just you
don't want to get comfortable.
You don't want to get comfortable, and then also you don't go into the practical things that people are already taking care of.
Exactly.
You have a vision. You want to see what's next, and to see the big, go back to your dreams and see what you can invent.
I mean, the beginning, we're going to fast forward a bit. The beginning of the brand was a bit I don't want to say difficult for me, but it was weird because I didn't want to be involved in all the things that took away from the creative. I'm like, I want to focus on the vision and doing what I need to do. But of course, as a very like small brand starting, you have to put your hands in so many different but it was difficult. And also I would like to think I'm a very calm, like reserved person, and when things get very stressful, it's a bit like not a good mix. But I mean, you learn, and now now I can negotiate that feeling much better.
Yeah, you have,
because I know it's gonna get crazier and crazier. And I just have to focus on what I do best and let other people focus on what they do best, and everyone shouldn't like overlap. Which is it gets crazy.
But your brother is helping you in the technical side as well.
Yeah. So he really handles like the business side of everything, which was kind of always the plan.
Shout out to Abdullah. He's the best.
Abdullah does a lot. And he also has to like he gets very frustrated with me because I'm very like
Okay.
Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know? He's like, no, but you have to be at this place and you have to do this. I'm like, but I don't want to. Like, I don't want to be at a fashion event, for example. I'm like, I don't see what my presence there brings to the table. It doesn't bring anything to me.
You're very stubborn, eh?
I'm very stubborn. No, but like, if I'm not gonna have a good time, I just don't want to be there.
Yeah.
No. But I do enjoy, meeting people and socializing and going out. But
why did you take off from school and from university?
Yeah.
Why this gap? I
gap,
feel there is something you want to tell me.
Yeah. No, the gap was very interesting. I mean, I told you, like, when something major happens in my life, like, I like to shift my focus to something else. And I just didn't see myself being there. And it was a very scary feeling for me. It was like the first time I felt, I don't want to be in this place, but it doesn't make sense because I should be here and I should do what I want to do. But nothing worked. Like, I went there to do industrial design, which is like completely out of, because I wanted to create products, which is very, something that I always wanted to do. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a painter, I want to do art, but I also like product design.
So the system was pushing you towards somewhere, and then you find that you don't want to go there.
I chose like the wrong program in the beginning, and I actually went to the first class, and they were like, get your rulers out, and we're gonna draw this. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was like a boat. And then we had a break, and I went to the professor. I was very, very honest. I'm like, I don't think this is what I want to do. She's like, I'm really glad you said this in literally the first, like, people go years and
until they say it.
Until they say that.
Yeah.
She's like, go to admissions and change your major. So I changed it to fine art. And then it was like fundamentals. So I did like charcoal drawing. I did a sculpture class, which I did not like. And it was a very dry, intense atmosphere. And it was a very like parallel to what was happening. I'm like, I came from a place where like it was very organic for me, and everyone was telling me like, oh, like this is what you need to be doing, and I knew that. The good thing about me is like I never let anyone shift my focus and my belief in something. But I mean, I was very young, and it was a very big regret for me leaving, because I'm like, people get scared and they run away from things, but I should have had someone that told me stay, but also like I can't rely on other people. And now the funny thing is realizing that when I left, it was what made me do what I do. Because I would have not painted, I would have not obviously I was very depressed for these 3 years, and there was a lot of changes in my life, and I didn't want to be here because growing up here, I also never saw myself here. I'm like, there is no space for me in the art world at the time. I was very young. Things were very different here. And everyone told me, oh, you shouldn't be here. You should be because you know how people think. Like, you should be in LA, you should be in New York. But these are perceptions of places that we have built in our heads through society and through movies. But why do I need to be in LA, and why do I need to be in New York? Why can't I do what I want to do here at the time?
Yeah, I mean, which is great. Why you were depressed? Tell me about it.
I mean, I was very young, and things were moving out of my control. And I'm like, I've been growing, literally waiting for the moment till I graduated so I can leave. But I didn't have the awareness of why I wanted to leave or why I wanted to stay. So I went there thinking that this was going to make me...
When you say there, you mean...
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
And I'm like, okay, so in my head, when I get there, this is what's going to make me happy and change my life. And I'm going to know exactly what I want and do what I do. And it wasn't the case. I mean, and that's I got my second tattoo long after that, maybe 5-6 years. but I was always thinking about it, is that, you know, you can go wherever you please, but it's the insides you cannot leave, which is like, if you don't work on yourself from the inside, doesn't matter where you are. I mean, you could be crying in a mansion, you know, it doesn't. And these are things that you don't realize at 18 and at 19, you know, you realize with time. And I grew up thinking that I let this go and I should have stayed, and you know, maybe if I graduated from the US, things would be different. I would have stayed. It would have become my home. But when I came back, I think the only thing left for me to do was to channel that energy into art, which is what I've always done as a child too. I mean, I was always a very quiet child. I don't want to say I was a sad child, because I was a child. I didn't know what emotions,
but
complexity
you
of
can
emotions.
say, but you were trying to find yourself. You've been always trying
sure.
to find yourself, and it's harder when you be alone as well.
Yes, and it was even harder for me to find myself again after realizing that art and painting isn't what I was going to do in life. And that entered my second phase of change, which was, I would say, maybe even worse than the first stage, because then it reminded me of San Francisco, and it reminded me of all of that. So now it was like double the pain.
Okay, so I left San Francisco.
Yeah.
At that time, you did not start painting, but you just went to this destination thinking you're gonna find yourself there and happiness. But then you realize that it's inside you.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is actually inside you. It's nowhere else.
No.
And then
you know, going back, and I tried to go back. You know, I tried to go back, and it really reminded me of. I don't know. Have you watched Lost, the show? It's one of my favorite shows. It's a very dramatic. I'm gonna tell you it's like a plane crash into an island, and then they cannot leave the island because they're trapped on this island, and it's strange things start to happen. People say it's like psychological because they cannot leave, and I don't want to ruin the show, but eventually, like, let's say one of them leaves, and then he tries to go back to the island his whole life, because he realized like that was the best part of
his life. Yeah,
the crash of you know. So it's very much like that. But also, again, I had the awareness of realizing that things can change based on what you make out of them. And of course, so many things happened after that. I mean, getting into beauty was a huge shift in my life. And for the first time, I felt like my anxiousness was gone. And I felt like this is what I was meant to be doing. You know, it was a very weird feeling. And it was weird because I missed having something to like push me towards something. Because I don't like getting very comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the brand happened, and that was like my another thing that like it's a big scary thing, because releasing something into the world that, again, I have no control over it. You know, like I have no control over maybe one product being faulty or not just faulty, but not what people expect, and they say like, this is a horrible product, it's not for me.
It's very hard when it goes commercial, and I know it's a very, very thin line, because you want to keep the passion, you want to keep your baby, and when it becomes a company, it changed.
And keep in mind, I mean, I was editing my own photos, I was editing my own videos. Everything I released was very controlled under my personal. Everything I controlled was like by the dot, you know,
done by you. Yes. Controlled by you.
So you saw what I wanted you to see, but with the brand, with the release, you know, it's not going to be for everyone.
Yes.
You know, which is normal. Like you have to think of it that way, and I have to think of, you know, I'm not only releasing these 2 products, I'm going to keep releasing products, and whatever wasn't for someone will be for, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like different tastes.
But it's same like my podcast. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I mean,
you find
even-
some people you don't know, like, oh my God, they love a topic or something. So yeah, you can't please everyone.
Exactly.
But back to yourself.
Yes.
Did you find yourself, Muhammad? Did you find yourself? I know how much you are successful, but I feel like you were traveling not to find the major, but really to find who you are as a person, not
You know
what you want to do in the future.
Yes, of course. No. Yeah, I wasn't traveling for like, I mean, at 18 and 19, you don't travel to like find what's gonna make you money and what's your you travel for your soul and for yourself. I really feel like when I went back to the States in 2019, it was like resolving. It was a big change for me, honestly. It was a really huge change, and it made me a completely different person. I was less. I feel like I let go of a lot of anger and sadness, and I became a different person. And I have not really completely found myself. I mean, like I told you, I think of myself as a future version, and when I look at my future self, I don't see myself completely like myself now, which is exciting. But I've seen a lot of things happen that have happened to me. You know, I've seen myself in a certain car. I've seen myself in a certain place, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I saw myself happy in these things. But it wasn't bad either. You know, it was just a thing that I saw, and it didn't excite me like, oh, I'm gonna reach a point where I'm gonna have this car, or I'm gonna reach a point where I'm gonna have this house. It's just visions of like how you want your life to turn out. And ultimately, I just want to see myself like being happy and surrounded by people that are the same, and really like focusing on doing what I love, which is what I feel like is most important to me, which is the brand. And I don't even want to say the brand, because that's part of, a passion of what I do. It's more of how much deeper is that? Like, what are you trying to say? How many people can you inspire? How many people can you show something new to and inspire through art?
That's why I'm not jumping quickly to the brand. This is what you're saying is really
to me the brand
important and emotional. The brand
is very new, and to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about the brand, because the brand is out there, and it is what it is. It's a makeup line, and of course it's a big extension of who I am, and it's a very personal connection. But it's also, at the same time, it's makeup. You know what I mean? And yes, when we talk about it, I'll talk about the products and how personal they actually are.
I know.
And why
I picked up the name, by the way.
Why I did what I did.
You said I don't manifest myself, and then this triggers a name for
you. Yeah.
And when you traveled, and I'm jumping back to the same point. Did you feel that you are more free? Did you feel that you are more, maybe less judged from the from the society in a way? Did you find yourself properly, and then you came back more strong, and you know exactly what you want?
Look, I think I feel like there's a question that I don't want to say I get asked a lot, and I feel like we're going to lead up to it, which is like being judged in society and being a male makeup artist and all of that. But I feel like it's been really amazing, you know. I mean, I started at a time where social media was just booming in the beauty industry, and I was the only makeup artist here doing what I was doing. I mean, of course, you had like amazing, legendary makeup artists like Bassam Fattouh, who has paved the way and for a lot of like Arab icons. But I'm talking about social media and the new generation of where things were going.
who jumped into the makeup because they were on Instagram.
And
not vice versa.
And I was the first one. I was the first one here doing it in Dubai, which is crazy to think about now, because I just don't think about it. But I didn't. Back to the travel, I didn't feel like I wanted to find. Did you say like find yourself?
Yeah, find yourself or compare that place where you have more freedom and more, more expression.
For sure. No, I really definitely felt that, but it made me feel excited because I could be there and I could be here, but also my personality, and I mean, I think you kind of get an idea of who I am by now. Is I'm not a very like out there person. I mean, I'm very laid back, and I feel like my life wouldn't be that different living there or living here.
But you're lucky, Muhammad, because you said like I didn't feel, let's say, judgment, and my family was supportive, and but it's not for everybody.
It's not. And I've had family members that told me, you know. And this is after I graduated, after I've had 2 art awards, and after what I think was very successful for me. And they would come and tell me, okay, so what
are you going to do next?
What are you going to do now? No, Mish, what are you going to, I wish it was, what are you going to do next? But it was like, okay, so it's nice that you did that. So what are you actually going to do now that you graduated? Because you can't do this for a living, you know? Which is like very weird.
Very weird, and it's the hardest thing to say to an artist.
Yeah, but I'm like, but have you not seen what I've done already? You know, but again, I don't let it like get to me, and I actually like it.
Yeah,
because I like to
be.
I like to be Miss. What is it called?
You wanna do more. You wanna give more.
I like to be underestimated.
Yeah, so you can give more.
Yeah, I like to be underestimated. I mean, I had a professor as well, because I mean, I told you how much I experimented in university with like photography, and I did sculpture, I did digital. So my professor would tell me, you know, you can't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And that really, and that really like made. I still think about it now. Imagine, but not in a bad way. But I still think about it, and I'm like. But according to what, you know?
But that's 100% true. I mean, I believe in that.
I mean, it makes sense where, okay, you can't, you know, wear yourself out and stretch into so many different things. But isn't this how you like create your own identity and your own style? Like, let's say you're into like film noir, and you're into comics, and you're into classical painting. And then if you fuse all these styles, then isn't that what creates a unique identity? But I think what she meant was, you know, more technical and it's not as big as it sounds. It's literally just like, hey, focus on
one thing.
Painting.
I technically you need to know everything.
Yeah.
But as a creative, and to create your identity, it should come from one place.
Yeah.
One love, one passion, and it can shift, it can divert, it can be, you know, given a different color, but it's always, and that's why you have a strong identity. It came from one place and stayed there.
Yeah.
And then you can be so creative, and if you look at all the big brands, you feel that there is a source of identity. It came from, but it can shift, and even the designers sometimes change, but the roots are there.
Yeah, they have to stick to certain things. I mean, it's also like the saying of like you have to know the rules to break them, or something like that. Which is, but in terms of identity, I mean, I don't know what to call my identity as. I mean, I know what it is, but. I don't like to talk about it.
I can say what I know. Clean. Perfectionist. I don't know if this is identity, but you're perfectionist. The lines, the eyes. It started from the outline, and yeah, it's shifting everywhere, but it's that perfect,
Yeah.
and it's Arabic as well, which I
Nice.
love.
Yeah.
The Arabic touch that you
Yeah.
have in your art.
I think I'm really drawn to finding beauty in darkness, and I like to merge like dark elements with very feminine, pretty elements, so that maybe something can look dark, but it's, or vice versa, which I think really makes sense with, you know, what I told you about, like finding inspiration through dark times and inspiration through comic book, and then beauty advertisements, and very extreme, like opposite ends, I would say. I mean, I grew up listening to like heavy metal and Britney Spears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was like I would listen to heavy metal and then I would listen to Britney Spears.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
it's the opposite.
There's no middle.
Yeah.
And I like that. You know? It keeps things a bit unexpected.
It's great. It's I want to talk now about your brand.
Yes.
Which is cool. You did beauty.
Beautopsy. So
Beautopsy
was derived from my last show that I did. It was my last painting show. It was my solo show and my senior show.
Okay.
Which got split in two. And because the professor told me, oh, you want to do a solo show? You can't show anything that you've done as a challenge, because they knew my the potential that I had. They're like, you have to create new pieces for your solo show. I'm like, fine. So I did it.
I can do it.
I did it. And my main piece was Beautopsy, which was the huge, it was 19 canvases, custom made. And it was like 20 centimeters by 182, which is almost my height, like a bit shorter. And all of the paintings from that show were derived from photographs that I took of girls and people around canvas. I mean, I had a painting that sold actually, which was my lips, because I wanted to create a painting of lips that would shift. And it was a very dark, but like sexual and beautiful photo. I think it was maybe one of the most sexual in the show, and it was my lips. And I put like black lipstick. I took the photo, and nobody knew. And I mean, it got it's in someone's house, you know, and it's lips of a guy.
Now they know.
I told them, yeah. I mean, it was fun. So I like that element of like combining different things, and it was a very special show for me, of course. And I felt like after I did that show, it was a chapter like I kind of closed in my head, and I knew there was a time where I would pick it back up. But it's funny that it came in cosmetics, which I would have never imagined. So that my first product was Beautopsy, and it really was a reference and like a tribute to my life as an artist. So the pans were custom made. I mean, the technology is insane. It's an ombre of shades. It can only be handmade. There is no machine that does it. So each pan is actually very different. I mean, you can get 2 palettes and they could look a bit slightly different. Okay. Because everything is handmade.
Wow.
And you know, it's vegan. It's it's a formula that you can put anywhere. You know, if you're a guy, you can put it to cover, to like give yourself a healthy look. You can put it on the eyes. You can put it on the eyebrows. You can put it in your hair. I mean, I wanted something that had no rules. And I think it was maybe a bit intimidating for people, like looking at it, because they're like, because it's never been done before.
Okay.
And people are used to doing things a certain way. So they're like, okay, but what do I do? Like, where do I put the brush?
This one is gradient.
Yeah.
Goes from highlights to shadows in one.
Different colors, like light tones, dark tones. And I spent maybe 2 to 3 years just thinking of the colors before the brand, because I knew, I'm like, it's going to happen one day. Whether it was a collab with someone or whatever it was, I want to just fantasize about what my line would be like. And these colors were the first to, and they went through so many changes because I had to make them work for all different skin tones. And I'm like, okay, but this yellow needs to be darker or lighter because if you dip into this, you can get the same effect. And I don't want to repeat, you know? But it was I had so many ideas for...
Wow, look how long it took.
You're
and always
it took 2 years to develop.
Discreet about it. And then we just saw it happening. It was like, he just made it in one night. Look, it took years.
Yeah, it took years.
Wow.
And I have like all the products that I think about, they're like on my notes. And I have like so many things that I reference back to, I change, and I'm like... And there are things that I've thought about even longer before, but I'm like, if it's not the right time now, I'll save it for later, which is like exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, it took a while. And then COVID happened, and then production, what would have taken 6 months took a year and a half.
Yes.
But it also gave me the chance to really like do what I love to do, which is like
sharpening it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it can be used for male and female.
Yeah.
I want to hit on this topic is how acceptable these days, like how people are more accepting, or guys are accepting more to put makeup. And I love the way you position it, because it doesn't look like a guy has a makeup. He just like, he looks better, but it doesn't show.
Yeah. I mean, I really love the idea, the concept, and it's a very big passion of mine because I grew up with really bad acne, and I was very insecure about it. And what annoyed me is I did all the right steps to try to prevent it. I did the skincare, but nobody taught me nobody taught me self-care. So I would over clean, try to take care of my skin to the point where it would damage it. Because again, I'm like, want everything to be perfect. And the funny thing is that because I did a lot, it actually left me with scars. So I always, and obviously I turned to makeup as well to try to cover it. And I got really good at it because, again, I have like I'd like to think I had the technical skill as an artist. And so the more, it was bad in the beginning, but the more, and my mom would notice everything. So she'd be like, why is your face white? Why are your eyebrows like this? And then my challenge was to do it to a point where my mom wouldn't notice.
Okay.
Because she's very sharp and she's amazing at makeup. So it was like my personal challenge. And it reached a point where she doesn't...
notice.
Yeah, she didn't.
Okay,
she
you
stopped
perfected.
I perfected it. She knows, but this is later. I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence, and obviously it's a superficial thing, but it's a superficial thing that makes you look the way you used to look, or the way you feel like you look, how you want to present yourself. And it's not a deep thing. Like, I don't think of it as something that's like a deep topic that needs to be dived into. It's just a form of self-care and looking and feeling your best. And if it happens through like a bit of bronzer, a bit of concealer, a bit of this and that, then
why not?
Yeah. And I feel like, yes, people have been a lot more accepting of it in the region. And again, I feel like with COVID and with this self-care and skincare movement, it's a lot more accessible and acceptable.
And guys are jumping in more of taking care, because most guys, they do take care of themselves in a different way. But when it says makeup, it's for them, it's a taboo. Exactly. It's kind of like, no, it's for girls.
Even my brother would tell me like, oh, like I have an event or something, I look a bit tired, can you give me a bit of concealer? You know? Because he knows that when it's done, it's like he's not going to look different, he's just going to look fresh. There are different levels of how far you want to take it, and that all depends on you and your personality, which is like, there are really no rules when it comes to makeup. It's just about what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And this is what I've been comfortable with, you know, and maybe that's what I want to show with the brand.
Yes, you've showed a model like
Yeah.
in your brand, like a male model. You've showed yourself also,
Mhm.
which is really
Yeah.
nice and brave, and
I mean, I would love to dive deeper
how
into that
yes.
when the products develop in a way that would suit that narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, like, you know, I haven't done foundations or concealers or things like that. But you know, when that happens, there's.
Would you do a product only for male?
I get asked that, but because I don't like the idea of having something targeted to men,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like things should be very unisex. And you know, I've received a lot of skincare that's targeted for men, and I feel like it it doesn't cheapen the message, but
See, it's the same formula,
It's
but
the
they
same
change the
formula.
package because
and then they add a masculine scent, which I hate. I don't
Exactly.
like scent in my skincare.
Okay.
But the amazing thing now is, I mean, for a couple of years now, all skincare has been very neutral. I mean, it's not targeted to women, and the packaging and everything is very, very neutral. And this is the direction where everything is going. So I don't feel the need to do that. I mean, a makeup line for men could be cool, but why does it need to say? Why does it need to say that? To
Just
make
for
it,
people
yeah,
to accept it, because when it says for men, it could be
Yeah.
the same, but it's just like
I mean,
it's
my
just
goal,
black
yeah,
and
yeah. My goal is to continue my packaging in this very interesting blend of masculine and feminine, which I feel like is the direction things are going. Like very strong, but also like maybe with the product itself could be the feminine touch.
but it's
that's-
sharp and bold,
Yeah.
which can fit both.
Yeah, so it looks like a luxurious pen or something, you know. So I feel like that element is, I think it's quite masculine, the packaging, but again with the feminine touch. Maybe the way
Both. It's sharp, I
Yeah.
would say. It's
the
bold.
way it shines, what's inside, and
It's international as well, and this is something I want to hit on. We said the perfection came from you. You said I like to be judged a little bit because
Yeah.
it pushes me to do a perfect.
yeah,
And you started your art from copying as well, like copying faces
Yeah.
and perfecting it. But it reflected on the brand itself. It reflected, like, when I look at the brand, I say this is an international brand.
yeah. I remember you messaged me
Yes.
during the first launch, the first campaign.
It's something. I mean, I'm so proud because you're an Arab and you're hitting an international standard. I was really proud even when I
Thank
approached you. It just because I was like, oh my God, this guy is going in the right direction. It's simple. It's minimum. It's like you know, when Apple do ads,
Yeah.
they keep it clean,
Yeah,
which is something. It's hard to do sometimes because we get excited and to put more spices, and then
I mean, for me, I feel like the more distraction there is, it's to maybe, I mean, for what I do, I don't want to like add a lot of filler things, because the way I'm releasing things, it's like, this is a product that I've worked on for years, and I don't need to explain not that I don't need to explain it, but like I don't need to fluff it with so many things, because I've already perfected the product for you, and I just want to let the product speak, and you know, you try it and you tell me. But of course, like, there are collections where I really want to go dive into my art background and do something more elaborate.
it will be more specialized.
Like a limited edition collection,
yes,
you know?
Yes, and we go crazy with colors and this. Yeah, why not?
But it's very interesting when you said about the international part, because it was always something that I felt guilty about when I started my YouTube channel. I mean, my YouTube was always US based, and it wasn't because of anything. I mean, it's just how the demographic was and who was watching. But I would also get a lot of Arab viewers and comments saying, you know, why aren't you speaking in Arabic?
Even I wanted to speak in Arabic, but it's just like...
Yeah. And they were like, but why? And then I tried a couple of videos in Arabic and the reaction wasn't that great. I mean, I got a lot of negative comments, which again does not reflect the society. It just reflects whoever is commenting. And in my head, I was like, but I'm not getting any negative feedback from this type of video. And I could have done both, but the international part was growing much more faster and much more at a wider scale. And in my head, I really wanted to spread. I mean, I would rather a Middle Eastern, like Arab brand make it globally than focus on a certain market. Because why wouldn't you want to see like, and when I started, it was only Arab models and Middle Eastern women. So for me, it was like highlighting Middle Eastern beauty and women and breaking stereotypes of not just Arabs, but the way makeup is seen. I mean, they used to think, you know, it was just like kuhl and like dramatic and Cleopatra makeup. Imagine, like this is what you would, if you type Arab makeup on YouTube, is what would come up. It was either that or Haifa Wehbi.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, that is perfect. I
At
mean,
that time,
she is an icon. But to have like only these two options with like Cleopatra was very strange. I mean, people didn't know that Arab women are modern and very extremely well educated when it comes to beauty and skincare and just well-being, you know. And this is what I wanted to show, and I wanted to take it to an international scale. So that was always my goal, you know, is why wouldn't you want to see that shown everywhere and like in New York and all of these things, rather than just focusing on it here.
And you made it well, and you spend also time and effort, and I've seen your ad in New York Times Square, and Burj Khalifa as well first. That was crazy. That was amazing. How happy were you?
It was another one of these things where I didn't know it was happening. I mean, I didn't feel like it was happening. And while it was playing, it was behind my back because I was taking photos. So I saw just like a peek of it, and it didn't make sense in my head because
what do you mean? It was a surprise for you?
No. I knew it was happening, but it's a big thing, and I didn't want to give it that attention in my head because it was like a bit overwhelming. But it's amazing. Yeah, it's a thing that happened, and it's an amazing way to like start the brand off, and it'll always be like a memory of
a beautiful memory, and even you're gonna have more success, but the first memory, the first launch, the first picture on a big billboard or on Burj Khalifa, it's like your first car, you know. You're not gonna love more than the first thing. First baby, first car.
Yeah. And I mean, the interesting thing is working on the second campaign with you. This is where I felt like I'm doing exactly what I want. I mean, the first one, yes, I loved what I did in the first campaign and everything that happened, but I was away from Dubai. I shot it in London. And something about it felt like it was a bit of a disconnect, you know? So shooting the second campaign, I mean, even me and Abdullah, we always talk about it, and we talk about it with you. It felt like it was so smooth, and it was... also, because I had people that I love with me. I mean, Lana was in it, like so many, Safia, Paula, Sangi, like so many other girls that I've always worked with. And I like that, and to me that's more important than creating like something that is missing a bit of a touch. Again, 100% love the first campaign.
It's so beautiful.
But I'm just telling you in
saying.
terms of like a personal connection with the second campaign. And obviously because like you learn from certain things. It's the second launch, so you know what to do, what not to do, and time.
But it was
it was amazing.
Definitely agree with you, not because I was a part of it or I did the filming of it, but it has the Hindash identity.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, from the models, Lana, who's amazing. I mean, she was always in your shoot, and people now when they look at her, it's you and Hindash, and the whole thing. It was you inside it.
Yeah, and we worked on the first eyeliner collab I did years ago.
The Hero line.
No, the first
one was with the brand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've worked together. I feel like we've worked together so much more, but we haven't worked together that much. But I know you through the years, and
I've been looking through. It was like 3 years, 4 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like more. But I like that. Like to me, it's. I like the connection part of creating something, rather than like it being sterile and like.
I wanna hit on quickly on Hero line a little bit because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And this amazing eyeliner, how fluid it is, how sharp it is. If you wanna tell me something technical about it more.
Yeah, I mean, I always say the eyeliner was a very straightforward product to create because the interesting thing is people didn't really expect it because my style moved past the black eyeliner and I only use brown, and you know my look and style evolved to a certain way that has become my signature. But it's important for me as a brand to just create basics in the beginning and a staple product. So for me, eyeliner is like my beginnings, and it references ink and like an ink pen. And when I think of Arab beauty, I think of like just a simple liner, and it suits us so well in the region and globally. I mean, you know, it's a classic look that never goes out of style. So creating the pen, I knew I wanted to create a brush tip, which gives you the most control. You can create very thin lines. And again, brushes are very important to me. And I wanted to give it a very luxurious feel. So we created that shell that had like a grip to it. And of course, it gave it like this masculine edge. Looked very luxurious. And upgrading the formula to suit, you know, everyone's needs. And it's a vegan formula. My entire brand is vegan. Humidity proof, long wear, so it ticked all the boxes. And I've actually had the eyeliner approved for like almost 2 years. So it was just a matter of like releasing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hindash, we passed 1 hour. This is the longest podcast. I'm so happy. I just want to say you're an inspiration for a lot of young artists who sees you as a person who made it and an artist who expressed them very well. What would you say for them? Also, you had the chance to take the hype of Instagram and YouTube, but you made it through your passion and through perfecting and through hard work. It's not you came through the Instagram and YouTube. You've just used them as a platform to help you express yourself. What would you say to this young generation, and especially in the Arab world?
I think the most important thing, and what really I feel helped me the most, was preparation and being prepared. I mean, anyone at any given time can take a look at your profile. You know, like any big celebrity can stumble on your profile. And if you're doing what you want to do and you have that to show it, then that already like puts you at an advantage. I mean, I would shoot all the time. I would film and take photos and get whoever I can to like model for me. And it's just like really, I mean, if you can scroll all the way down on my Instagram, I've left everything there. So you can see like the evolution of things. but it remains the same style. It just like becomes like more and more perfected and like sharper.
Evolution.
Yeah.
I've saw Naomi, I've saw Adele, I've saw like all these celebrities. So it's all only through hard work and reaching out and
exactly, and just being prepared. I mean, if you say like, well, I want to do this, and so you have to do it. I know so many people, so many talented people that don't do anything because of the fear of it. They're like, no, but this doesn't look good, but if it's not out there, then people can't see what looks good and what doesn't look good even. So you just have to keep putting it out there, of course, with an awareness of doing it your way and sticking to what you want to do and believing in that, like being stubborn.
Yeah,
you have to be stubborn.
That's a good advice.
Yeah.
Habibi Muhammad,
thank you, Hikmat.
It was great having you.
Likewise.
Inshallah, for a brilliant future, you'll be the most famous artist in the world.
Thank you.
Inshallah. You can work. Yes, you will do it.
Yeah.
Love your tattoo, by the way.
Thank you.
They look amazing.
They're fresh.
You keep on adding some.
Most of them, yeah. Every week.
Yalla, cool.
Yalla.
Ciao.
Ciao.